In an interview with the New York Times, I said I felt betrayed by Eugene McCarthy. A man I spoke to later told me that I shouldn't feel betrayed at all. I asked him why. He said, McCarthy is a politician. Their profession is to betray people. And that, my friends, sums it up. That's Tulsi Gabbard, the Bernie Sanders progressive here in New Hampshire, stumping for MAGA people, saying that Joe Biden is equivalent to Hitler. And there's something called doom surfing where you look at the news, and all the news seems, frankly, to be doom laden, and it really has a psychological effect on you. So it's much better psychologically not to really follow the news. And on that note, Eric, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. Hopwood?
I'm hanging in there. I recovered from I think I had a cold last week. He's
Oh,
over here now, so I'm looking over here. Eric, what is that background?
yeah, it just kind of came up. So I don't know what it is, but there
I
we
like
go.
that
I
one
like
better.
that.
You can't put
Yeah,
yourself in like Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium.
I wish I could. That would be awesome, but that is not a background that's available on Skype,
Do you
unfortunately.
Were you did you think that the Yankees were going to win the series against the Commanders? Not the Commanders. Commanders are Washington. They're the Guardians. All the teams now are fascist imagery. So, maybe Tulsi has a little point. But in
I
kind, not degree.
thought
Go ahead.
when the Commanders took a two. Sorry, now you got me doing it, John.
Well,
Wait,
in
wait.
Washington, it took forever for them to get a damn name, right? And it's the same name as Biden's dog. Who names their dog Commander? You name him, you could name him Butch. I mean, he's a German Shepherd.
when
You could name him
when the
Hitler, right?
Guardians
Uh-oh.
yes
We can't
when
use
the
Hitler.
Guardians went when the Guardians went up 2-1 in
Yeah,
the series, my thought was that if they were going to win the series, they had to win it Sunday night.
right.
They could not go back to New York for game 5.
And
Um,
your candidate for the MVP, they named the MVPs after the playoffs, if things are
right.
still right. He was rather cold in those first three games.
Well, my
Judge,
cousin Joe
Aaron Judge.
is a diehard Yankee fan.
Yeah.
And I told him this. We had a conversation about it today, actually. I have a theory. My theory is this: every great athlete, professional athlete, has that one team that's their kryptonite. That one team
Yes.
that they struggle with, they can't get over the hump against. For Tom Brady, it's Miami and Denver.
The Red
Are those
in the
the two
1970s, the
teams?
late 70s, mid to late 70s, the Red Sox had such trouble with the Kansas City Royals. So if they had won the East Division in 77 or 78, they would have had a handful. Whereas the Yankees always seemed to handle them until 1981. But
Yes, and so my theory is that Aaron Judge, if you look at his
yeah,
splits against the Guardians, he does not he does not do well. Last time he was in the postseason, they played the Guardians, and he didn't do well. This year, he didn't do well. So I think the Guardians have a read on how to pitch him. And if you watched how they pitched him, they attacked him, but they attacked him with caution.
yeah,
They went at the strike zone, but because of how big Aaron Judge is,
6'8".
there is holes in his swing,
Yeah.
and they attacked those holes. They went low and away. They went up and in. They went at where he couldn't get to it, or if he did get to it, minimize the damage. And they stayed away I think with a guy like Judge, there's this almost obsession with if you have him on a 2-strike count, you gotta throw something breaking.
Yeah.
You gotta throw something, a curve or a slider or a splitter.
You don't want to be beat on a fastball.
Yup, you gotta throw something to get him to swing. The problem with those pitches in October is the air is a lot thinner. So those pitches sometimes don't do what you think they're going to do when they leave your hand.
Well, within the Red Sox, when I grew up, that was always true, no matter what part of the season,
Well,
particularly in August.
Look at 2003 ALCS. When Wakefield threw that knuckler that was just meat, and Aaron Boone crushed it in Game 7. That's my point, is those pitches in that cold air, they don't do what you want them to do. And the Indians stayed away from breaking stuff. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I would say a high percentage of it was his swinging strikes or outs were in 2-strike counts, and it was fastballs.
But there's more than just Aaron Judge on the Yankees. And when you're taking care of him, somebody like that can exhaust a pitcher because they've got to be so razor sharp. I'm talking about a starter, of course.
Well, and the thing about the ALCS is this is going to be a wash. This is not going to be an entertaining series. I have the Astros winning in 5.
5?
And it would shock me. It would shock me if it makes it to 6.
How can you pick 5, though?
What was that?
Yeah, you think the Astros have such an overwhelming advantage?
I think the advantage... I will say this. I think the Guardians would have been a better matchup. And the reason for that is the Guardians get on base. They don't rely on the home run.
Right.
They'll work the count. They'll scratch some hits in. They'll run on you. They play small ball very well, and they don't need to score a lot of runs to beat you. That's the key to beating the Astros, is you have to get on base and put pressure on their starting pitchers, because their middle relief and closing is suspect. So the sooner you get to that bullpen, the better off you're going to be. You can't have their starting pitchers give quality starts after quality starts.
But we've seen in the postseason the Astros have been able to slug it out with slugging teams when they have to. Or is the team different now?
Well, the Astros are different because really they are more... They're not as loaded hitting wise. Yes, they have Yordan Alvarez, and they have Jose Altuve and Jeremy Pena, but a key player from the last time they won it all, Carlos Correa, isn't with them anymore. And what Correa did is, if you have that, you had Altuve, Springer, Correa, and Bregman. If you had those 4 guys, that's almost half of your batting lineup that can just rake.
Yeah.
That's a major advantage, because who do you walk? Who do you test? You almost have to just throw whatever slop you can and hope the bats weren't working. And they're not as dominant of a batting lineup as they were, and they're not as dominant of a rotation as they once were.
Yet they won over 100 games.
Right, but chalk that up to
interleague play or whatever.
I mean, 70 plus of those games were within one of the worst divisions in baseball.
Well, they're one of the reasons it is one of the worst divisions in baseball. You have to give it to them.
They have the worst run organization in pro sports in the Anaheim Angels. They have the Athletics, who are basically a AA, AAA squad. The Mariners, who were good, but they're no matchup for the Astros. And then the Astros.
Well, the betting line on the Astros and
And don't
Yankees.
forget about the Texas Rangers. They're also in that. They're also in that division.
The betting line on the Astros Yankees, the ALCS, the American League Championship Series. Houston is a 195 money line favorite. You have to put up 195 to win 100. Yankees are 160 plus 162 underdogs.
Those are pretty exponential odds, and I would actually agree with those odds.
Would you say that's 2 to 1? See, I don't bet on sports, so I know horse racing, and 2 to 1 it would be considered even in a horse race in a way. But I don't mean that to really. You have is it 2 to 1? Is it a prohibitive favorite? I'll cut that last line out.
Yeah, I would give that to the Astros. The one shot I think the Yankees have, we'll find out tonight, because if they have any shot in Hades of winning this series, they have to win tonight. They have to take game 1. If they don't take game 1, it's over.
Who's starting tonight?
Jamison Talion is going up against Verlander, I believe.
Jeez, and what is Verlander's record this year? Tell the folks.
Well, I'm looking it up right now on my computer. Cool thing about being on Skype is I can do that. Let's see what Verlander's done. His first outing of the postseason was not good. But he has a proficiency of bouncing back.
Yes, that's true.
So that's going to be very interesting. Let me see here. Scores.
Well, here is the two-time Cy Young winner. But I can't find his stats for this year.
Verlander this season is... Where is he? Sorry, it's taken me a second.
This will be better in the rerun, folks.
I think he went 18-5 this year. There we go. Got it.
18-4.
ERA at home is 1.64.
He was 18. He led the league in wins. 18-4 with an 8.18 1-loss percentage, 1.75 ERA. It's like we're talking old Tom Terrific, the real Tom Terrific, because I'm talking about a right-handed pitcher. Who's the real Tom Terrific? Come on, Eric. It's not Brady.
Oh man, I'm gonna take a shot in the dark, John. I'm gonna say Tom Gordon.
Tom Seaver.
Ah.
Yes, Tom Seaver had, I remember one year he had an ERA of 2.13, led the NL and won 14 games. One of the Mets' many off years, folks. The Mets were a team that could try a person's soul, I'll tell you that.
Conversely, since we were talking about Verlander stats, Jamison Talion is 7-3 with a 4.36 ERA on the road.
How does he match up against the Astros lineup?
He's never pitched against them.
Well, there you go. And Verlander, I'm sure, has seen the Yankees many times in his career.
He has, and I believe in the postseason, he might be undefeated. I don't think he's lost to the Yankees in the postseason.
How many innings is Verlander good in a money game like right now? Well, how long will he stay out there?
He's actually on an extra day of rest. So I would say he's good for 90 to 100 pitches.
Is he going to go 7?
I think he'll go 6. I'm going to give him 6.
So that's what they do nowadays.
It's going to be kind of nip and tuck. But here's what's interesting. The Yankees starting lineup against Justin Verlander, the best hitter is Josh Donaldson, who is 9 for 35 with 2 RBIs and batting 257 and been struck out 9 times.
Well, you don't get a 1.75 ERA, creating the next Ed Williams.
Another major warning sign for the Yankees fans, if I may. Aaron Judge is 4 for 27 in his career versus Verlander. 2 of those 4 hits were home runs, but he struck out 10 times and has a 148 average.
Talking about Ted Williams
Giancarlo
in the postseason.
Stanton is not much better.
Yeah.
He's 2 of 14 with 3 RBIs. Both those hits were home runs with 8 Ks and an average of 143.
Well, Aaron Judge is nobody's idea of the second coming of Big Pappy, let alone Reggie Jackson, you know what I mean? He just doesn't hit very well in the postseason. Not that he ever got that deep.
I mean, here, the thing with Judge is, look, anytime a Yankee player achieves anything monumental, he is automatically put up in that.
Oh, they'll retire his shirt, just like they retired Paul O'Neill.
He's up in that echelon, Monument Park type people here. And I think it's a touch unfair for that because people are treating him like he should be Derek Jeter, this guy that can make clutch hits. It's like, why Derek Jeter could make clutch hits is he was a contact hitter.
Right.
Aaron Judge isn't. Aaron Judge is a power hitter. So no, he isn't Derek Jeter. And he doesn't have the glove Jeter did. So that's really unfair. I think he's more of a. I wouldn't even put him as an Edgar Martinez because Edgar could get on base.
Let's go.
Okay. Sorry, Tino Martinez played for the Yankees, not Edgar. Edgar played for the Mariners.
Speaking briefly, speaking of the Edgar Martinez, should they rename the designated hitter award after Big Pappy? Now it's used in both leagues.
Absolutely. He's the greatest designated hitter of all time. No disrespect to Edgar Martinez. But what Big Pappy did in big game moments changed the position of the designated hitter.
Well, I don't know about that, but let's go to the National League briefly. We have
this series is going to be fun.
Well, give a preface of it.
The Phillies. This is cool. This is why the baseball postseason is so epic and amazing, because you have 2 teams that were written off for dead after the trade deadline, and here they are. Phillies won Game 1. Tonight you have Aaron Nola versus Blake Snell, a great pitching matchup. I think this series is going to go 7 games.
You do, huh?
I do. I think this has a complete and total dogfight written all over it because these teams are just mirror images of each other.
So this one's a toss-up.
I've always been myself a Bryce Harper fan. I would love to see him at least get to a World Series. But, man, I really like how the Padres have been playing this last month of the season. And I look at their lineup, and they have just such a distinct advantage with guys that can just hit. You have Soto, you have Machado, you have Cronenworth, Profar, Bell, Kim, Grisham. Your 9 hitter Trent Grisham is a 184 hitter.
Yeah.
And he's above the Mendoza line, albeit barely. there is not an easy out on that in that lineup at all. Everyone else is batting in the mid to high 200s.
But talking
So
about Bryce Harper, you said that you'd like to see him in a World Series. Let's remember that he was an MVP with the Washington Nats, which is one of the teams I follow. And without him, they won the World Series against the Houston Astros.
well, they were benefited because Anthony Rendon had a postseason for the ages, and whatever deity he made a deal with, he needs to send up a cut of that Angels contract because, yeah, yeah, it's very interesting that the Nationals won after Bryce Harper left, and I think that leads to unfair criticism on him. That he wasn't a key part because they won without him.
They did win without him.
Right, I understand they won
In
without him.
1964, the Cardinals won the World Series without Stan Musial.
But to use
I'm
it
feeding
to
you. I'm
diminish
feeding
him-
you a line here. Throwing you the life preserver. Because Stan Musial, when I was a kid, was considered on par, if not superior, to Ted Williams as a hitter. I mean, he had the National League record for hits. Stan Musial.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
man.
that the Cardinals did win after Stan left. Of course, Stan was 43 years old, So,
Right.
those things are just things we throw in to cause to yank your chain.
Right, and I understand it's the same.
Nats
It's the
fans
same
did not
idea
want to
whenever-
lose him,
But I think there's a lot of people, a lot of the so-called experts that use it to diminish Bryce Harper, and I think that's unfair.
Well, we're doing it to we're juicing the betting line. We're not going to tell you where we're putting our money, folks. I don't know about
No,
that.
I don't want any bookies to take any of my advice here. I do not want Sam Ace Rothstein coming to visit me at my apartment in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
I was out in California the first time that Indianapolis, which now Indianapolis will be called the Guardianapolis in the state of Gardeniana. That when they beat Brady and the Pats, I was out in California, and there was no betting line because the Patriots was such a prohibitive favorite. So then I'm with my friend. It's the last few minutes. He says, "Oh, I should have put $1,000 on the Colts." No, it was the Giants. Excuse me. I always mix the brothers up, right? It was the first Giants one. I'm getting old, folks. I'm on a lot of drugs now, like for high blood pressure and stuff. Like Glenn and Let, we start breaking down. We're no longer our vibrant selves. But, see, I wanted to make a joke about Indianapolis, so I switched the brothers and the teams. But my friend said I should have put $1,000 down. I said, yeah, I'm here. This is the first time you're talking. You should put a bet down. But I don't approve of sports betting, folks.
We actually, in the state of Iowa, sports betting wasn't legal here until, I want to say, 2020.
Well, it's just a way to the working class. And we will put in a suitable bleeped word afterwards. Hey, we are going to shift gears now after I made an ass of myself mixing up 2 football teams and showing that I'm little more than an old fart now, ready for what they call in England the knacker's yard, which is the glue factory.